Let's be honest. We've all seen the quotes. Just let it go. Protect your peace. Release what no longer serves you. And for a moment, they feel comforting. You nod, you repost, and you try to believe it. But then the quiet question hits. Why does it still hurt? Why do I still feel heavy? Why can't I really let it go? This video is for the person who's tried to move on, but still feels like something stuck inside of them. I know how hard this can be because I've been that person. I've experienced situations in my life, like you have, where it has been hard to let it go. And it hasn't happened to me just once, it's happened to me multiple times because I know firsthand how hard it could be. I want to help you. And we're going to talk about what letting go really means, why it's hard, and the myths. There's a lot of myths around letting go. And those myths, believe it or not, are part of the reason that we stay stuck in emotional loops and pain that have stopped serving us. This matters because I'm not going to pretend that all you need to do is stay positive. This is a much deeper conversation. It's about your heart, it's about your nervous system, a biological response within you, your healing, and taking back your power. Before we begin, I like to ask you to please be kind to yourself and to remember you're not broken. You're healing. Healing is not a straight path, it's actually a spiral, returning back and uncovering and remembering who we are. When you finally let go, it's not a weakness, it's wisdom. Today, we're going to walk together through this sacred process of returning to our wholeness through understanding what it takes to get there. Now, the first thing we're going to do is talk about why letting go feels so hard. And a lot of it is actually related to the brain body connection. Here's something that's rarely talked about. Your brain is not designed to let go easily, it's designed to keep you safe. And safe to your nervous system means familiar, even if the familiar is painful. That's why we hold on. When we understand it's actually a neurological function, it helps us understand why we hold on for dear life to that pain, to the person or situation who hurt us, to the identity we've created in survival. It's your nervous system that's trying to protect you. And here's the thing, when we understand this, then we start to realize that it can be safe to release. You are safe to feel, and you are safe to let go, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more and you can work with your nervous system. The next thing we want to understand is myths around letting go. Let's bust some of these myths that sneak into our healing journey and quietly block our freedom and our personal and professional growth. Myth number one, and you've heard this one, time heals all wounds. The truth is, time alone does not heal all wounds. It can dull, distract, or delay, but healing takes intention. And when you face what you've been avoiding with love and truth, you can heal. Otherwise, you're simply dulling it and repressing it. And one day it'll come back to the surface in full force, and you will feel that pain, perhaps even deeper than when you first experienced it. So, no, time does not heal. Here's myth number two, forgiveness means they win. No, it doesn't. Forgiveness does not excuse the harm, it sets you free. It's not about them. It's about not dragging their energy into your next chapter. I have heard countless of times people say, I will never forgive XYZ person. What they did to me is unforgivable. Maybe it was unforgivable. Maybe it was so bad that the person does not deserve your forgiveness. But you're not forgiving them to ease their shame or guilt. If they have any, they may or may not. You are forgiving so that you don't carry that grief within you. Because not only do you carry it emotionally, it gets trapped into your pain body and your nervous system. That has long term effects on your heart, mind, body, and spirit. You deserve better than that. Myth number 3, letting go means it didn't matter. Again, no. Letting go honors that it mattered and it mattered deeply. It says this shaped me, but it no longer gets to limit me. You heard me right. Thing is, too often, because we think that when we let go or forgive, it's like if it didn't matter, it is limiting you. It's keeping you stuck in a circle, in a loop of that very event, circumstance, person, place, or thing. And when you are in that loop, you're limited, you're boxed, you are caged. Who wants to live in a cage? Not you, not me, not anybody. Stop limiting yourself. It did matter that it happened. And it's important to honor that, to honor who you are in your experience, but don't stay living there. I have a friend who I adore deeply, but almost every conversation I have with them boils down to the pain and suffering of their childhood, and that's why they are who they are today. First of all, the pain this person suffered is real and it did shape them. But this person doesn't have a different conversation beyond the pain of their childhood and the trauma they've experienced. That becomes very limiting in terms of how they perceive themselves, in terms of what they allow themselves to experience, and even what they can talk about. I'm going to say it. Nobody wants to be around someone who's having a constant pity party, talking about something that happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I understand pain and I'm getting emotional. I have lived through a lot of pain myself and know it is not easy to let it go, but it's a lot worse on your heart, mind, body, and spirit to stay stuck in a cage of unforgiveness and pain. The thing is, we believe these myths. We stay in these cycles thinking that there's something wrong with us. But what is happening is that you need to release, you need to let go. I can share all these tools with you, but unless you make the choice, it's never going to happen. You have to choose it without expectations. And when you choose it, not only is it a place of full and complete release, that it requires full and complete surrender of the story. There's a simple truth. It is important to feel things fully. You heard me. Feel them fully. When we have a negative experience happen to us, we want to deny it. We want to avoid it. But here's the thing, part of releasing and letting it go is actually to allow yourself to grieve, to cry, to be angry, to be honest. Don't pretend what you're not. Don't say it's okay, but inside you're clamping up and dying and hurting. How do I know this? Because I've done it. Your emotions are not the problem. Let me repeat that. Your emotions are not the problem. The problem is suppressing them. Stop suppressing. Allow yourself to feel so that you can heal. And the next step to do that is to name it clearly. What is that thing that is hurting you? Is it a person, a belief, a version of yourself that was built in fear or survival? Get clear. Your brain cannot release what it has not defined. You need to define it so that you understand it and your brain can feel safe releasing it. A lot of this goes back to this biological impulses within us. The next thing we can do once we name it is create some type of release ritual. What we're talking about is to actually do something where you let your body witness the release. What does that mean? It can be a letter that you write to a person, to an experience, and you let it all out and then you burn it. And you say, I release this with love and truth, or you tear it up. The thing is, you need to do something to let it out because you need to feel it, name it, release it with love. Another thing you could do is maybe something cathartic, like a really good cry. The subconscious mind needs something. That's why I called it a ritual. You can call it whatever word is comfortable to you, but the mind needs something to understand what is happening, that you are safe, and that you are more importantly releasing it. The next step after that is replace that thing that hurt you with truth. You're not just releasing something, you're stepping into someone, which is yourself. Ask yourself, what do I believe about myself, the situation, the thing now? What truth am I ready to live from? And express it, say it, repeat it over and over again, write it down, practice it, because release without a replacement leads to a relapse. The mind, the body doesn't just release in a vacuum. When it lets go of something, it needs something to replace it. If you are releasing a story, then you have to replace it with a new one. It's part of what creates belief systems and how we feel. I want to share a personal story with you because I understand that those steps that I shared with you can feel a little bit one dimensional and linear, as if they don't work, as if it's a to do list. It can feel that way, but they do work. But first, I want to share about an experience where it took me years, not days, not weeks, not months, years to forgive, to let it go, and to heal. I have openly talked on this podcast about my mother's passing. Oh my goodness, I'm already getting emotional. For those of you who already know me, you know that my mother passed of COVID. For those of you who are new to the podcast, you're learning about this now. My mother's passing of COVID was extremely traumatic on many levels. And there was a lot of grief. There was pain because she was intubated for months. There wasn't any treatments or cures at the time because it was at the end of 2020. In the middle of that pain, when my mother passed, and I've shared this before, within 24 hours of my mother passing, there were some relatives who immediately started to make certain insinuations around inheritance. The reason for that was because my mother was the person who was in charge of giving certain family members inheritances from another deceased relative. And because of what happened, she never was able to do that. My mother had full control, and then by default, it passed on to my brother and I instead of having family acknowledge our pain, our grief. It became about inheritances, money, and it was ugly. It hurts deeply. The Cindy who loves these relatives and know that they're actually very good people, they just have a negative belief that I would not act with integrity and so forth, was in pain in disbelief and wanted that pain to be acknowledged, wanted to have some type of recognition, some type of acknowledgement saying, Cindy, condolences. I'm sorry I raised this point. We trust you. We trust your brother. It'll work out once the grieving period is over. There wasn't any of that. I never received an apology, a thank you, a recognition of my pain of having lost my mother. During that time, it was very isolating. There was the grief of losing my best friend, which was my mother, and then dealing with legal matters. And I had a very hard time letting that go. Eventually, I had to understand that the recognition, the apology, none of the things that I would have loved and even needed, just a hug, just a support, was never going to come. The more I stayed in that place, the more pain I felt because it was creating a loop. And it took me a couple of years to let it go. Something that helped was when the estate was finally taken care of and executed. I remember saying to myself, I did not need to wait years to forgive. I could have understood that the conditions I had around letting go and forgiveness were never going to be met. And I want you to hear this. Sometimes the reason why we cannot let go, and I didn't say this earlier, we place conditions on forgiveness. We place conditions on letting go, and we want those conditions met. But sometimes we need to understand those conditions will never be met. So, do you want to be right or do you want peace? It boils down to something that simple. Do you want to be right? And I know I'm coming off a bit hard, but it needs to be said. And I'm saying this from a place of love for empowerment of us all. We often want to be right out of self righteousness, out of what we needed in a moment that we never received. It may never come. And if you hold on to that condition, if you hold on to that self righteousness, you're going to have a hard time letting go. And those steps, those tools that I shared earlier, it will be hard for them to work. Those tools do work if we're willing to let go and willing to let go of the conditions to let go. There's no conditions. There's just letting go and releasing for yourself. When I finally let it go, I feel like crying again. I found that peace. I stopped caring about the negative way my family members perceived me when they assumed I would not have any integrity, because one thing that's so fundamental to who I am as a human being is integrity and ethics. That is my Achilles heel. It is my biggest strength, but it's also what can cause me to distance myself from people when I don't see integrity. It's the yin and the yang working together. And when I finally let go, I said, you know what? They're not bad people. I love them. They're actually good people. They just had certain judgments based on their own life experiences with other people that were projected onto me. And I couldn't do anything about it. You can't do anything about people, their projections onto you, what they think, what they've experienced that has led them to act a certain way towards you. You cannot control that. And you're trying to, and that's why you're holding on to self-righteousness and conditionality. When we come to that place of it's not going to happen, the release is full and complete with the tools I just shared. If you're interested in my story, I hadn't planned on sharing this, but I did write a book called Life Beyond the Disease. It's my story that I wrote to honor my mother because she had wanted me to write this book many, many years ago. It was a promise to her. It's about living with type 1 diabetes. I'm pretty open about it. See, I'm wearing a continuous glucose monitor. But it's also about the ups and downs, forgiveness, self-love, self-care. If it's something that interests you, you can find it in the description below. I did not mean to get that emotional, but that's okay because on this podcast, we're real. This is not about faking it. This is about us being raw, open, and honest with one another so that we can grow personally, emotionally, spiritually, and yes, professionally, because they all affect one another. If you're still here, you're not alone. It's okay to let go. If this has resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share with somebody who it might help. My mission, my goal here is not just to talk for the sake of it, is to help grow a movement of soul aligned people to align to our true essence so that we could lead a better life and also find more fulfillment in the workplace, in our leaderships, and how we show up. Letting go isn't the end, it's the beginning of peace, clarity, and of you coming home to you. Thank you for being here today, for holding the space for yourself, for your wellness, for your healing, your empowerment, and more. Until next time,